We are going to be making a flip book. A flip book is a way of practicing a kind of beginning animation. I love flip books because they're really simple and playful. And basically, what we're going to do is we're going to cut our pages so that they're this size. And then we're going to go through and illustrate each page with an image that moves slightly every single page, so that when we go through and we flip our pages like this, it appears that the image is moving. How you begin is you start with an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. I'm not going to use scissors for this or a ruler, though you can. I always say that our materials that we're using are something that we have to create a relationship with. And so when we begin something, we may not know how to use our material, right? And we learn it through a process of trial and error. And that's why when you make something, you're not going to necessarily get it perfect the first time. And I always say that it's process over product. So as long as you're creating a relationship with your materials, as long as you're learning something as you work, you are in a creative practice that means that you're doing something of value. It may not make a product that you're like, I could show this to 1 million people, but it's something that is benefiting you. And you have no idea sometimes when you dedicate time to something what it will become into the future. So one of the ways that works for me is instead of using a ruler or scissors, to use just my hands and folding. Because that's a relationship that I've created with my materials. I say, oh, okay, that works for me. It may not work for somebody else. Sometimes people will measure and then stack 2 pages together and draw a line and cut along that line. You can do that. The reason that I choose not to do that is sometimes I feel like paper slips and it's not as precise. And I find that this is precise enough for what I want to do. So I've folded my page in half. I've ripped it in half. I'm going to fold it long ways. I'm going to use my finger and I'm really following that line so that it doesn't rip out or across. If you follow it, you can usually create a really good crease. And then I'm just going to fold that in half, and that is going to be 2 of our pages. As a review, we have one 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. We crease it really well. We tear it. We fold it in half. And once it's folded in half, we tear it and it looks like this. And then we fold those pages in half like so. So I've prepped this little book. I have a good stack of paper. And there are different ways that you can approach this. You can do some practice sketches on one of your scrap pieces of paper. You can think about, do I want to make this more complicated? Do I want to make it more simple? I feel like when you're first learning to do something, starting simple is always good because then you can kind of see how things work without getting too bogged down with getting stuck on all these details. One of the things that I thought about doing for this demo is going on YouTube and finding videos of raccoons, and I was going to find a video of a raccoon and start the video, draw the raccoon in one position, stop it while it moved slightly to another position, slightly to another one, and keep going. So stop and starting, right? And then you can kind of catch that image moving and render it or draw it from the screen onto your page. And then I decided, well, that might be a little bit too complicated for the first time. So instead, I'm going to use a pencil and I'm going to go through and I'm going to create a really simple transforming image all the way through this. And when I make this image, I'm going to try and make it on this part of the paper, right? Because if it's all the way back here, you might not be able to see it. You want to kind of keep in mind that due to the nature of this, parts of this paper is not quite visible to the viewer. So I've gone through and illustrated my flip book. I have a feeling I made it even a little bit too complicated. It's like you have to do the slightest bit of movement every time and have something really simple. So let me see how this goes. Let's check it out. I'm really gonna try and align those pages so I don't miss too much. There we go. And I'm gonna go kind of slow so we can catch the details. Oh, I tend to lose like 3 pages in the middle. Okay, so since that didn't quite work as well as I'd hoped, I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna try something. And this is always the artist process is I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna use a Sharpie this time. And I'm gonna add something really simple to it that changes slightly every single time and see what that does to my flip book. Let's give it a shot. Okay, so let's try our second attempt. Let's see what happened. There it goes. All right. Love it. Okay, so that worked a lot better. Again, just keeping it simple. I really liked using the Sharpie because if maybe you could see it in the time lapse, it leaves a little shadow on the page before it. So let's say, for instance, I draw a little line. It shows me kind of where that line is, if you can see it. So I know, okay, so I'm gonna make that line just a little bit bigger, and so on and so forth, and so it can grow in that way with that impression from the page before. So I hope you have a good time making your flip book. I hope it's really super awesome and creative, and yeah, good luck with your animations.